to begin working, we need to start by selecting here new, and we're going to go with a script. You can see that a script appears here, a new window appears here, and we need to save these right away. Let's do this, save as, and we're going to save, for example, I would like to call it RBC. You can call it whatever you would like. The extension is .mod. That's the extension. We're going to save as type. We're going to select all files, and we're going to go ahead, click save. Now you're going to see that the file appears in here. So this is the file that we're going to be executing all the different commands of our model. Now let's talk about how to write the model in the software. First, I would like to show you how to, for example, write a text or a title. You need to type twice this / and then, for example, we will begin by defining the endogenous variables of the model. So I'm going to type endogenous, that's the title, endogenous variables. So using these two / is going to tell the software that this is not a command, sorry, this is just some text. And now to type the endogenous variables, we're going to use the command var, var, and you're going to close the command at the end with a semicolon. So here, all we need to do is to write all the endogenous variables of the model. So let's go now to the PDF, to the guide, and let's see what are all the endogenous variables in this model. Here we have the equations of the model. We can see that the endogenous variables are Y, consumption, investment, capital. We have the returns or the interest rate. We have the hours worked. We have the wages. And then what we have is the productivity shock. To write the endogenous variables of the model in the software, we are going to type after the command var, we're going to type Y, C. All the variables have to be separated by a comma. So we have output, consumption, investment, we have capital, hours worked, wages, the returns, and then we have the productivity shock. Now I'm going to show you how to define the exogenous variables of the model. We're going to add a title. I'm going to write exogenous variables, and the command for defining the exogenous variable is var exo, and you're going to close this command with a semicolon. The exogenous variable in the model is going to be, of course, the productivity shock. Yes. So the way it works in Dynar, you have to define, remember A was, the productivity shock, but what counts as the exogenous thing that we need to define in the model is basically the error term. In this case, what the epsilon, you can write an E, or you can write EPS for epsilon, anything or any sort of text, that helps you to identify that's, the error term. You can use any notation. Just make sure that you are consistent throughout the model. If you use epsilon instead of an E, you need to write everywhere you have the error term, you would write eps instead of E. Finally, I'm going to show you how to write the parameters of the model. We're going to add a title, parameters, and let's go then to the slides to see which are the parameters of the model. The parameters of the model are delta, beta, the alpha, the gamma, and here we have the rho, which is the persistence of the productivity shock. To write the parameters in the software, we're going to use the command parameters, and we're going to close this command with the semicolon. Similarly to the way we have written all the endogenous variables, you're going to write all the parameters here separated by a comma. So we're going to start them with alpha, beta, delta, gamma, and the last parameter is rho. Next, what we need to do is to define the values of these parameters. You're going to write the name of the parameter, for example, alpha equals 2, and here you have to write what is the value. The value for alpha, the share of capital in the model is going to be 0.35. And if you need a little bit more explanation on the decision for these values, you can go into the guide. You have there explained in details how these values have been assigned. Basically, all these values are either obtained from other models, from other people that have already estimated these parameters, or from national accounts data. We just know that 0.35 is the input share of the capital in the production function. So the next thing we need to do is going to be beta. It's going to be 0.97. The next one is going to be delta, the depreciation of the capital, 0.06. Next we have gamma. It's going to be 0.2. And rho, which is the persistence of the productivity shock, is going to be set to 0.95. This is going to be all the content for this video. We have discussed a little bit about DINAR, the different windows, and we have talked about how to define the endogenous variables, exogenous variables, the parameters of the model, and of course how to write titles or text in the software. I'll see you in the next video where I'm going to talk about how to write the dynamic equations of the model.